Hi.
Okay, you guys are so clever. I'm glad you were able to quickly pivot to the new link. That's never happened to me before.
At least you're not a cat right now. You're good.
That is a good thing, right? I'm not a cat. I'm live. I'm ready to go forward. I'm live. I'm not a cat.
Could be worse,
everybody.
Rachel.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi.
Morning.
Thank you for the new meeting link.
Yeah, sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Embarrassing.
No way. I was like, I hope there's something, an easy fix.
Well, it's just funny. We get into these meetings and we start doing stuff and we have all these technology problems and everybody's like, welcome to ELA 10. This is how it goes every day, all day.
No, it's true. If it's not one thing, it's another, right?
It is. It totally is. Simone, I haven't seen you in so long.
I know. It was, gosh, like 5 years ago.
It was up at Skagit, right?
Yes. Yeah. I know. How are things going at Everett?
I don't know because I haven't been there since March.
Well, right. I know. How are things in your home?
Everything is fine. I got it all tidied up.
Your kitchen looks lovely.
Thank you.
I love all the windows.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually logging into my here. I'm gonna close this one and carry my computer up to my cave.
Oh yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves, everybody.
Ivan, it's also been forever since I've seen you. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's fine.
Yeah.
In some ways, I've kind of adjusted to this lifestyle, and it might be quite a shock going back to campus. But
yeah, there are some perks about being able to, like make a real lunch and not have to commute.
It's the not having to commute is huge. I really realized how much of my day, how much of my energy and my stress level was just getting from my front door to my office door and back. And that is just gone right now. So I
How long was your commute back in the day?
It kind of depended. It's not as bad as people think. I live over by Woodland Park Zoo, and so I would commute to Bellevue College.
That's not easy though.
It kind of just depends on what time you leave.
Yeah.
But I don't know, 35 minutes in the morning, and then it all depends in the afternoon. If you live right in the heart of rush hour, it could take longer if it's raining, if there's a game and all that stuff. But
we've been talking about moving for a couple of years as soon as my youngest graduates from high school at the end of next year, because my husband drives from Snohomish to Bellevue every day or to Redmond. And he was losing 2 hours of his life a day.
Right.
But he does not have to go back ever at this point, more than 50% time. So we're like, we can stay.
There are really some good changes, right?
There are.
Positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trick is if you like these changes, it's like keeping a job where you can still have these changes.
Good point, Ivan. Good point.
Yeah.
So we could like these changes into the abyss, into into all of our jobs going
into having a worse commute because you lost the job that you actually liked.
You don't even have a commute to your office in your house, your home office.
It's a good point. It's like, well, you know what, just remain flexible because it's sort of like the things that you like the best are probably the things that are not going to remain the same, right? Yeah.
Okay, buddy. There you go. Ivan, I was trying to think about it this morning. I just saw your message that said that I just read the part of your message that said that there were no notes posted from last time. And I'm wondering if that was me. Did I?
No,
I think it was you.
I'm sure I
Robin,
was supposed to.
Robin said thank you, and I was like, well, I'll take some kudos, but I didn't send that. So I didn't send anything recently on Canvas, so I'm not really sure what that was in reference to.
Oh, well, I think it was in the email that we were writing back and forth, and I was saying, I think EVCC, I think I volunteered to do the meeting, and you were like, well, we can't find any minutes. And then this morning I finally saw where it said we can't find any minutes, and I was like, oh, did I take the minutes?
I don't know if I was supposed to take minutes as the host for the last meeting. If I was, I'm sorry. I did take notes, kind of, but not with the intention of posting them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I apologize for that.
I don't think anyone took notes
Yeah.
the last meeting.
What's the usual
Okay, well, I can
procedure?
volunteer to take notes today. Slash.
I'll
hosted
volunteer next
slash
time. I have to
note
leave at
taker.
11 o'clock today, by the way. So otherwise I'd volunteer to do it.
I'll volunteer as my penance for not doing it last time.
I don't think well, I can't find anything. So I was like, let me look around. Let me dig around and see if for some reason I have notes somewhere, but I don't. So
I wrote a bunch of notes from
You
last
have it?
meeting. And I can type them up. I'm happy to do that if you guys would like something from last meeting. I thought Lynn said something about it. And truthfully, I came late to it all and I
yeah.
haven't even posted numbers or anything, but this happens, the collective memory loss of the group, whatever happened at the meeting, but I do have notes. So I'll volunteer to write up those and send them along.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
No worries.
I did go through the comments that people made for what they would like as agenda items, and I sort of distilled them into a list. So I'm trying to find that. I'm just a hot mess this morning. Don't mind me. So I'm gonna just pop that up on the screen. So I think everybody's probably seen it, but.
By the way, good morning, everybody. Great to see you.
Morning. It's so good to see everybody.
Good morning.
Really great to see you. Thanks for getting it going. I opened up and saw the picture of Bernie and just laughed. That was so sweet. Thank you.
I laughed too. That was a nice touch.
That was actually our president posted that picture.
Nice.
Yes, our president is, I don't know if you guys should probably follow her on social media. She's
I do
phenomenal.
follow her on Twitter, and I have some jealousy. I'm so happy for you guys.
It's great to have somebody like her who's just so in touch with everything, but she's still the president and she still makes some calls that we're like, but yeah, it is pretty neat. So I put up here, let's see how many people are here. Who all is here? I guess we can have a sort of go around the table and maybe, I guess, welcome everybody to my Everett Community College home office. And I'm so glad to see everyone. And
Rachel, before you get going, I'm going to take note. Or no, you're taking notes, right, Scott? That's right. That was last time. Good. But can people go slowly? Your name and your institution and your job, because that really helps to remember that.
Yes, and it's good to get it down. Yeah. So let's go around and maybe introduce ourselves and just a quick couple of seconds, maybe a minute of how it's going at your home school. And but with an eye on what we actually have as discussion items so that we're not sort of repeating the conversation. Does that sound good? Does that sound like a plan? So I guess I can start. My name is Rachel Escoto, and I am full-time faculty at Everett Community College. I teach, I actually don't really teach international students much anymore. I teach ELA 1, which is our first ESL program, and we are just like everyone else. Our numbers are dwindling. Even our domestic programs are way, way, way down for fall and winter quarter. And but we're slogging through. So yeah, I don't know, Scott, you want to go next? Do you guys want me to kind of like just go through my squares?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, Scott, go for it.
Okay, thank you. I'm Scott Bean. I am also full-time faculty at South Seattle College. Yeah, we have low numbers as always. We have 4 instructors in our program at the moment, currently teaching. Yeah, I have a reduced load because I'm also the faculty coordinator, so that helps things a bit. Yeah, you can comment more later.
Okay. Leah.
Good morning. I'm Leah Schubert. I'm at Cascadia College and I'm faculty there and faculty coordinator. I don't have very many faculty to coordinate at this time. We have 4 too, Scott, that have classes and only 1 is a full load. But anyway, good to see you. And I will have to jump out a little early to prepare my classes. Nice to see you.
Thanks. Jessica?
Hi, I'm fairly new to this group. This is my 2nd meeting. Nice to see you all and meet you all. I'm at Shoreline. I'm a full-time instructor there, and then I'm newly the program chair. I was made program chair March of last year, so it's been an interesting time to come on to that position. Our program integrates resident and international students, so we have, I think, we've been a little bit healthier, though of course our numbers are down. We've been able to balance those maybe a little bit more. We have a really big program. We've had 9 full-time faculty, 3 just retired, and 11 priority associate. And they're all still getting classes, but at a very reduced, it's with a lot of like sabbaticals and release times and, you know, all sorts of things. So we're maintaining, but we're really feeling the crunch.
Ivan?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ivan Breen, and I work at Bellevue College. I'm full-time faculty there. I'm also the program chair of the intensive English program. And I recently got an opportunity to serve as assistant dean to the Arts and Humanities Division. It's a 3-year faculty position. So I'm wearing 3 hats at the moment, and I'm actually having a blast doing that. It's really stimulating and keeping me engaged and excited about my job. But we're all just hanging on and trying to pull ourselves out of this nosedive, and we're hopeful fall quarter we can have at least our intensive English programs, if not 100% back on campus, maybe something like a 50-50 hybrid model. So we can maybe use fall as a transition quarter to get us back on campus, but we need to get back on campus for our student population. So that's what I'm hoping for. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks, Ivan. Duff?
So hi everybody, I'm Duff Johnston. I'm currently the interim dean for the 3 intensive English programs in the Seattle Colleges District, so North, Central, and South. I've been in that position since summer of last year, and the year before that, I was the interim dean just for the program at Central. Prior to that, I was a full-time faculty member at Central. So currently, I'm in an exempt administrative role, and we're counting me out of the faculty pool, just trying to ease the workload, to provide more workload for our full-time and part-timers. So I work with Scott and Stephanie in the meeting here. We're going through integration. We've been going through it. It feels like 2 years now. But really starting summer, July 1st, we are going to be 1 program, 1 faculty. Our students are going to be pooled, and we're going to try to still keep students kind of pegged to their home college, North, South, or Central. So when they transition out of our courses into college courses, they're not all just sucked up by 1 college because they take IEP classes at that college. So we're working really hard to make sure that our intensive English program, even if it's only located on 1 campus, is still feeding students throughout the district. And this is going to be a big challenge. We're saved a little bit as long as we're online because students don't know what their campus is if they're doing everything in Zoom. But once we start easing back into face-to-face, then it'll be interesting. So we're thinking the next year is going to be a real challenge. We don't know when government policies are going to change. Even if they do change, the backlog of people trying to get visas or to get tickets, it's going to be a while before we see those student numbers increase, if they do increase at all. So that's where we stand.
Okay, sounds familiar. Stephanie.
Hi, good morning. My name is Stephanie Solomon. I'm full-time faculty at North Seattle College, and I'm also the faculty coordinator right now for North. And our enrollment also is down, so kind of, but we still have 7 instructors this quarter. Not anybody with a full load, but we have a few jobs.
Juana.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juana Alcala. I'm the Associate Dean for International Student Services at South Puget Sound Community College. And thank you. I've enjoyed being part of your group. I was hoping to encourage our Associate Dean of Transition Studies. Our intensive English language program merged a couple years ago with the ESL program. So we've had significant declines in our intensive English program. We're at about, in general, for our international student population, we're about 36% down, and our domestic enrollment is about 14% down. So we're hanging on, barely, but we're hanging on.
Juana, could you tell me your title again?
I'm the Associate Dean for International Student Services.
Okay, thank you.
Robin.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. My name's Robin Preisinger, and I'm the English as a Second Language Academic Director and at Whatcom Community College. And like most people, our numbers are very down. I think we have about 5 students in our intensive program right now, and maybe about 15 in our transition. We want to change our name and do all these things, but we're just in such flux that we don't really know. I actually interviewed Lynn because they integrated their international and residents, and I was curious about how that was going. We haven't done that, but we're just like everybody else. We're hanging on. It's just so hard to kind of really know what's really going to happen. And also, if we are kind of changed forever and should just be on the forefront of reinventing ourselves, or if we, just hang in there and kind of see what happens. So annual schedules are coming up, decisions are coming up. So, I'm just trying to hang in there and communicate as much as possible and learn from people and what they're doing in their different institutions. So, we have 2 full-time tenured ESLA instructors, and I have 3 adjuncts who are each teaching 2 credits. So basically, they're not furloughed, but that's all that I've got. So that's us. Thanks.
Karina?
Hello, everyone. It's my first meeting here. I'm really excited to meet you all. I'm from LWTech, and I'm full-time faculty in the intensive English program. I'm the only full-time faculty in the program. We have a really, really tiny one, and our intensive English program is combined with the ESL. So I know some of you are in the process of doing that or just recently have done that. We have been combined with the ESL for 4 or 5 years now. So I'm happy to share my experience with you if you have any questions. It's helped us to stay afloat. there are some challenges of having two programs combined, but it worked out really well for us. And even though our international numbers are down, we're still running classes, and we are enrolling international students and testing them. Whoever can get here, we're welcoming them with the open arms.
Karina, forgive me, but what does LW stand for?
Lake Washington Institute of Technology.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome, Karina. Thanks for coming. It's so much fun. Okay, Joyce.
Unmuted. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Joyce Walton. I'm the full-time intensive English instructor at Bremerton College, Olympic College, excuse me, over in Bremerton. And it's just me. And I think I have 7 students. 3 of them are here in Bremerton. 4 of them are in Japan. All of them are from Japan right now. The interesting thing about me, and I don't know if this has affected anybody else, but I'm actually going back into the classroom 4 times this quarter. I went on Wednesday with my 3 students in person, and then the students in Japan, I took my computer and put them on the Zoom. And we're doing that 4 times according to the regulations that happened after the winter quarter about if they went home and then they came back, they have to be enrolled in that hybrid course. And so that's where I am right now, hanging on, just like everybody else. It is wonderful to know that our students have legs. I'll tell you that much.
Sorry, Joyce, I was distracted at the beginning because I couldn't find you on the screen. You moved to position 1 and I didn't expect to see you there, but I got you were in Bremerton. Are you at Bremerton Community College or?
It's Olympic College. Sorry, I fumbled.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Simone, welcome back.
Hey, thank you. I'm Simone Frazier, and I'm full-time faculty in the intensive ESL program at Edmonds. And sadly, I'm the only one left. I think last in fall, Patrick or Linda was at your meeting, maybe both. And we had 5 full-time faculty last year, and then they laid off 4 out of 5 just because of our numbers. Our numbers are really down. And we have more students this quarter, weirdly, than we expected. Like, there was kind of a last minute enrollment, a boom. But so we got a few more. So Linda is back, but she's on an associate contract this quarter, and she's teaching 1 class and I'm teaching 3. And then we have a few students who are in cross-listed classes with our resident and immigrant ESL program. But yeah, it's just numbers are low, and we're not quite sure what the future holds, but we're trying to be optimistic. It's nice to be back though. It's good to see everybody.
Okay, thank you. James.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is James Evans, and I'm the Director of International English Language Programs at UW. Our program is part of Continuum College that used to be called Outreach or Extension. And as I reported in our last meeting in autumn, our IEP actually closed at the end of summer quarter. So I'm just here as an interloper, I guess. That's not exactly true. We're still offering programs. The academic English program for matriculated students had 114 in winter, which is about actually average, about normal for winter. And we did have our first successful launch of the short-term English program online. In fact, there are 22 students right now taking it, two sections of that, 11 each. We tried it in summer and it didn't have any traction. I do think that maybe, especially in winter quarter, we were talking at a meeting yesterday that the last 3 years during STEP, we've always had at least one that coincided an arrival with snow. So, hey, and in fact, maybe we should always have this winter meeting online regardless, thinking about what it would have been like for some of us to travel today. But we do have a few specialized programs online, and I have not yet updated the numbers, but we'll do so. But again, no IEP. As far as teaching, there are 4 teachers all teaching partial assignments. The system is that we offer someone a full-time load and then it goes on, but they're on their own, kind of just not working full-time. No one's teaching more than 2/3. A lot of people are teaching 1/3. And then there are 3 other teachers who have some reassigned time. And Ivan, I'm wearing 3 shirts instead of 3 hats. So.
Okay, did Joyce already go? Joyce already, yeah, okay, all right, okay.
No,
Okay,
sorry, I'm here. I just had to go build my fire up.
okay, and you're not a cat either?
No, I'm not a cat.
Love with this, okay. Okay, well, we kind of, I don't know, should we just sort of circle back to this, if everybody wants to kind of chime in about how, I mean, everybody has said basically their numbers are down, their programs are suffering, everybody's hanging on. I myself hate teaching online, and I keep considering quitting my job because I don't like it, but my husband's like, just wait until you go back to the classroom and see if you like it. So there's a little bit of that. Do you want to focus a little bit on merging international and resident programs? It sounds like some people have really great experiences with that. Karina, you have an established program, and a lot of people are looking to do that. We're sort of in between. So can we just kind of share our experiences with that? Does that sound like a good next topic for everyone? Yeah. Okay, great. Then I guess I'm going to just unmute myself here and you guys go for it. Maybe Karina, do you want to start and tell us about what you guys do at Lake Washington, since it's kind of established?
Yeah, I am trying to remember when, I believe it was summer 2017 or 18, when we actually merged the 2 programs. I was initially hired in the ESL program. I worked for the ESL program, and then because I come from the institution prior to Lake Washington, where I worked for IEP, they kind of asked me to take it over and be a faculty coordinator for that program. So since I kind of know and have experience of teaching both populations, so we since we were a smaller program, we basically had to redesign how we think about the IEP. And like in the traditional sense, if you think about the IEP, it's when you separate like reading, writing, and listening and speaking classes. But our ESL program was taught integrated skills. So we basically had to follow their curriculum. We had to jump on the train and like basically design the classes that mirror their curriculum, but they're IEP classes. So basically, like if an instructor is teaching a class, like right now I'm teaching level 5 class, and it's high intermediate. And in my class, I have 2 item numbers. So one item number we have for the ESL, and the other item number for the IEP students. We're doing this because of the tuition. Tuition is different. However, probably those of you who have experience working with the ESL programs, their curriculum is sometimes it's not as much academically inclined. There is a lot of life skills going on, and some students are not taking ESL classes in order to go to college. Some of them are taking it because they want to get a job or like improve something and get a certificate maybe. So for that reason, we have a supplemental class for low intermediate and high intermediate students, and then who are in the IEP. And then we have another class for low beginning and high beginning students, which is academic support class, where we identify the skills that they're not getting in the ESL, combined ESL classes. And we are teaching those skills in addition. So they would have like go in the afternoon to that academic support class and work in really small groups because our numbers are really low, and get a lot of like individual support from the instructors to help them prepare for college level classes. And then after high intermediate ESL, that's our highest level. Then we have a program that's called Bridge. And that Bridge program is also combined with the ESL. Maybe some of you familiar with the IBEST. So IBEST model, so basically we have an academic IBEST program, and this is the program where students take academic core classes. We have a bucket class where they have 93, English 93, 99, and 101. And each student is working on their specific outcomes in that class. And that class is combined, it's a learning community with social science a class, or like public speaking or sociology class. So they would take their like first English class that way, combined with another academic core class. And on top of that, they have also in the IBEST model, you have a support class where the instructor is like an ESL instructor like me, would help them with the assignments for the other two classes, other two college level classes. And that instructor also goes with them to two other classes like English 99, for example, or the public speaking class, and helps them in class and advocates for them, for the teacher. And just to get some information what they're talking about, so this instructor is able to help with the homework assignments that they have for those both classes. It was kind of long, so if you have any questions, let me know.
I can go next.
Before you go on, just Karina, how's it going? Do you feel satisfied with it? Are your international students feeling happy and like they're getting where they want to go? Are the resident, are the teachers happy with it? Just overall satisfaction.
As of right now, it's running more or less smoothly. We had a little bit of difficulty with the writing part, because it wasn't only the IEP issue, it was like the communication between like the IEP, ESL, and Dev Ed classes, like the college English classes. We just this quarter, we finally was able to align all of our writing outcomes. So that was a lot of problem, because like people would come with the different levels of writing. But right now, as of today, they're going through the curriculum review and being approved, but they finally aligned all the outcomes from starting level 1 ESL up until English 101. So we're really happy. It was a lot of work, but that was something that was a challenge for a few years for our programs being all combined like that.
Karina, can I ask, so how many credits do the ESL students take to be fully enrolled in that program, in your program? And then how many credits total are the IEP students taking?
IEP students are taking 20 credits, and ESL, it's up to them. They have more options because that program is way bigger. So they can take 9, they can take 15 credits. It's their choice. But so our class that's combined, it's the 15 credit ESL and IEP. So every morning they go for 3 hours into their ESL IEP combined class. And then they have every day 1 hour with their academic support instructor. And so total we have 20 credits.
So that academic support class is 5 credits. And okay, thank you.
I couldn't get my space bar, wouldn't unmute. That sounds really similar to what we have evolved into at Everett Community College as well, as our lower level IELP or our lower level international students have sort of dissipated. We don't really have any anymore. We have had to massage the way we offer credits for them. And so we'll take our lowest level IELP students and put them in our highest level ELA class, and then supplement, because that's an integrated 10 credit integrated skills class. We supplement with a specific reading class and a specific conversation, listening and speaking class for them. So they're actually taking more than the 10 credits. But like Karina, in your program, our international students have a certain number of credits they have to take depending on what level they are. ESL students can take whatever they want. Our basic ELA classes are 10 credits. And then we have additional grammar, reading, listening and speaking classes, computer skills classes if they want to add those on. So it sounds the same. And we're also dealing in some of our classes, we have up to 3 item numbers. We'll have domestic students, international students, high school completion students are in some of those classes. And the only problem with that is making sure that they're coded correctly. Our AA has a lot of trouble with that, making sure they're coded correctly so people are being charged the correct tuition, and then helping, making sure that instructors are able to integrate their Canvas classes and their briefcases so they're not dealing with 3 rosters in one class. It's really a lot. But doing that has enabled us to continue employing our faculty. We actually just integrated, we used to have developmental English classes under English. So we had a 97 and a 98, which were the 2 classes before English 101. We also taught an equivalent of that, the $25 version of that, in transitional studies. And we just recently integrated those classes. So they were being taught separately. So we would have English 97 students who would be full tuition developmental students, and then we had the $25 developmental students, and we just recently integrated those classes. And so now we have 2 item numbers, but the students sitting in the same classroom, some of them are paying $25 and some of them are paying full tuition, which is sometimes necessary depending on their financial aid. They might get special aid from different programs. But what happened was, because they were full-time tenured faculty from the English department teaching those classes historically, we've had to absorb them into our transitional studies faculty, which bumped some of our TS faculty out. So that's been a little bit of and it happened with math as well. And that was budgetary. That's one of the calls the president made with that. We were like, so that's been a little bit challenging, but it's good. And one of our other faculty, our other full-time IEL faculty has just arrived. That's Li Zhao, and she's, wave your hand, Li Zhao. And it's Happy New Year, Li Zhao. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Can I ask a question for either Rachel or Karina, or maybe Jessica, how it works? Like, this is something we're talking about at Edmonds, and I don't think there's a huge push to do it quickly, but we're wondering how it works when you have a merged class. And you've got, coding seems like the easy part, but how do you pay the faculty? And maybe it's not the easy part, but compared to trying to figure out the, like if you've got a class and, say you have 5 international students and 25 resident students, how are the faculty being paid? Like, how do you not mix the funds? If that makes sense. I'm not sure if I asked it really clearly.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer, and our dean is in there's a Council for Basic Skills meeting right now, so he's there, but I can have him, I know some grant, like the grant pays for part-time faculty and they have to be coded in a certain way, and other things full-time is a different way. I would be happy to pass his info on. He's very open to chatting about anything, and I don't know, but he would know.
That's really helpful, Jessica. Thanks. Because that's a question that keeps coming up, and we, our faculty, when there just aren't that many of us left, but we just, it's a question that keeps coming up that we don't have the answer for. So thanks.
I'm just curious how, like at Whatcom, we have DevEd, we have ESL, ELL, we have ESLA, and then there's English. And so, I'm curious how that worked when you did merge and you brought all your full-time people together. Then they kind of realized this is something that we need to do, and then you're able to align. Like sometimes, you know, I've heard in the past, dev ed people will be like, well, that's ESL, you know, I can't deal with that. They shouldn't be in the class. So did people just have to, you know, kind of, did they just have to let go of all that and then get combined? And were they able to, how was that negotiated with everybody?
Robin, do you mean bringing the English faculty in under transitional studies?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're still housed and paid from their division. They just have now sitting in their classes, it's not just domestic students. They have some of our resident ESL students who have gone up through the classes. So I don't know, that is actually really complicated. And the negotiation, you know, faculty wasn't included in that at all. That was between the deans and.
Oh, got it.
We just were told basically, you need to make room for these faculty for math and English faculty. In terms of alignment, I was so impressed to hear, Karina, what you said about being able to align all of your classes. Our course information forms are a cluster. At this point, we really need someone, and we don't have the budget right now, but we really need someone to have at least a third or 2/3 release time to focus on realigning all of the course information forms, because they're all over the map. And we try to sort of find a happy medium, but English department is going to teach their 97, 98s how they teach their English 97s and 98s, i.e. LP is going to teach their 97, 98s how we teach our 97, 98s. We just try to compromise and make sure that everybody feels like, you know, we're preparing the students as necessary. It's I don't know, it's all kind of like a, you know, a cross yourself and good luck, high five, let's go situation.
Yeah, we were there a few years ago, and it was really confusing and disorienting. But this project of aligning all the outcomes took almost a year, and there were people from all the 3 departments working together and aligning that. And they did a good job. I'm really impressed. And in terms of funding, I'm I think on the same page with Jessica. I will have to talk to our dean, and I know they went through different iterations of how they pay the faculty. I remember there was one where I had to calculate like the percentage of the students, like how many students we have ESL in each class for each quarter and IEP, and then they would kind of like go to the accountant and do some kind of a formula. I was not a part of that. I was only calculating the percentages. But right now, we're not doing that. So they had an agreement, the deans of the 2 programs had an agreement that I will be like the only one that paid from the like international programs budget, and the rest, because it's such a small program, and the rest is paid from the ESL and like beta budget. So that's all I know, but I'm happy to get more information.
I interrupted you, I think, Leah. I'm sorry, quite a while ago. Someone was about to share and I had a question, so.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll jump in. So yeah, at Cascadia, we're in the process right now of merging our programs. And we have a task force of faculty from the beta program, ESL, and the ABE sides of that, from our international ELP. So that's ESL, ABE, and our ELP are all working together with Lynn. And we have a name for the new program we've created. We decided on a name last week, and we are going to call it English Foundations. And so how it works is, it sounds similar to what Lake Washington is doing. We have a 10-credit core class. We're calling it Integrated Skills class. That will be a class that all the students in the English Foundations courses will all take. So that would be optional for ESL domestic students to take. Did I say required? Okay, so that's the core class that everyone would take. And then we have some academic skills courses that would be optional for our domestic students, but required for our international students. And can I share my screen, Rachel?
Leah, while you're sharing, I'm just curious, was English involved in this discussion as well? Like English 101, et cetera?
Yeah, we did it at one point. We got involved with English because they were creating a new course themselves, which they were trying to make an English 100, like a kind of an extension of English 101 to support students in 101. And so we tried to kind of we just had discussions with them at the beginning of the process, wondering if we could somehow work with them on that transition into 101, but they were already pretty far along in their process and it just got too complicated. So, however, our ELP outcomes are already backwards designed from English 101. I mean, we are looking at it now because we're looking at all of our outcomes, but we just revised our writing and reading COGS, which are our course outcome guides, like in the last year or two. So we're pretty well positioned for transition into English 101. So right now we are revising, we're looking at our course outcomes. We're writing course descriptions for all of the courses this week. We've drafted them and we're taking them to get approval next week. So we're right in the heart of all of this. Yeah, so it's easier if I can just show you what our new program is looking like. I don't know, can you see it?
Yes.
Can you see anything?
Oh, we see a black screen.
You see a black screen.
I think it's loading.
It says that you started sharing, but it doesn't show anything.
I'm selecting the screen I want to show you, but it's not.
There it goes.
There it goes. Boom.
Yeah. Oh. So this is like super rough draft and we don't have names for everything yet. But we have these integrated skills classes where we have 2 beginning levels. We're calling them beginning and high beginning. And then intermediate. And we're rolling in our what we call English fundamentals classes. Those are like high school completion courses of domestic native English speaking students. So that's where we're actually adding, we're not just merging our ESL and our international IEP, we're also merging into the pathway our domestic American high school GED type student population at the higher level. And then the penultimate or the final level here is our integrated academic English class, and students co-enroll in a college success strategies course at that level already. So we already have that there, but we're just going to expand it so that it can accommodate our domestic native English speakers as a pathway for them to enter into English 101 without having to take any other test to get in. Because we have an agreement that upon successful completion of this integrated academic English class, students can go directly into English 101. So this revised model benefits our current eFund students who currently need to take tests and get approval from the English faculty in order to enter English 101. With this model, they won't need to go through that testing process. They can instead, they could opt to go to this highest level, successfully complete it, and then go into English 101. You'll see that we have some skills courses. So we have writing and grammar that they would take every quarter. That's 5 credits. And we're going to teach it as a stacked course. So beginning students and high beginning would be together in one classroom, because just of enrollment numbers, we're not going to have, that's going to be mostly international students, we're guessing. That would be in those skills classes, but ESL students could enroll in them too. But we're planning on teaching them as one class, but we're writing separate courses for them so that if and when we get, a big boom of enrollment and those are full classes, then we could separate those courses out. But we're planning on teaching like the writing and grammar skills as a combined stacked beginning and high beginning. Then we're going to have reading skills courses and speaking and listening skills courses, which we're going to alternate each quarter. So in a given quarter, an international student would take, for example, might be in the integrated high beginning class, the writing and grammar skills course, and then a reading course. And then the next quarter, they would be taking like a speaking listening course, writing grammar, and then a core integrated course. So this is still in the works without official names yet for the individual courses, but we're definitely making progress. We're getting there.
And Leah, those skills classes are 5 credits, so the students end up with 20 credits.
Right.
Got it.
That is, you have arrived at exactly the program that we have. That is exactly
really?
what we do. We have.
We should have just asked you.
Yeah, it's really funny. But some of the skills classes are not, they're no longer 5 credits, right, Leisha? I think maybe only grammar is 5 credits. Grammar's 3, yeah. So listening, speaking,
speaking, grammar are all 3 credits. 5. Yeah.
Reading's 5.
Reading is 5, yeah.
Because we've just really decided that our students, the biggest problem we have for our students as they move on is reading skills. So we've stuck with 5 credit reading classes.
Can I ask?
Oh, sorry, Ivan, go ahead.
So for the integrated skills classes that both ESL or domestic and international students are in together, are those still like, are you still doing CASAS testing and following the state curriculum and outcomes and all of that? Is it?
Currently, we're not doing CASAS testing at all. We still have to do the freaking waivers forms, but we're not doing
waivers. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our domestic students still, we still have waivers and CASAS requirements. So, the instructor has to be in charge of that, which, that for the people who came from English and math, that's a rude awakening because they've never had to do that. But yes, we still have waivers and CASAS requirements for the students who are in our $25 classes, and the students who are in our full tuition classes do not have to do any of that testing or paperwork.
So so they're in the same class, but some of the students have to do all that waiver stuff, and then the others just don't.
Yes.
Okay.
If I can chime in, we usually in our program, we have a separate intake for ESL and international, and the waivers form are done during the intake. So the instructors don't do this in the classroom. But before COVID, we actually did test both ESL and international students with CASAS too, to know their progress, but we just didn't report the international students into the waivers.
Okay, interesting.
That's the same. We also have a separate intake process. Our students are not combined at intake. International goes through a very separate process than our ELA students, than our English speaking students. And that's something that we're trying to work on right now too, is trying to align that, because that's also, and now that we're virtual, people just fall through the cracks, and we're trying to figure out how to have that not happen. But same thing, our waivers gets done at the time of enrollment, but CASAS testing has to be done during the quarter.
Okay.
Do you have informed self-placement at your institutions then for getting into English 101, and how does that affect the students that are in the foundational English?
We are just rolling that out for spring. So we'll see. And we do have there, one of the first buttons is, are you an international student? Are you a high school graduate? Are you, I don't know, it's like a, a sorting hat. And one of the first questions are you an international student? And then down on the list of things that tests that we were talking about, we've also just added a battery of tests that are now accepted for placement. The step icon and the this, that, and the other one. We've just added a whole bunch, and they are now allowed to use those for placement as well.
Thanks, Rachel, but they don't place themselves if they don't have those scores. So, there's the battery of tests that they can go directly in English 101. And if they don't have those scores and you're doing intake, how do they get where they go?
So the way it's not complete, and Elijah, Elijah, why don't you talk about this? You were at that last meeting, right?
Feel free to add in if I miss anything. So we've been working with English faculty people for the past 2 quarters, working out the self-placement test for everybody. But like Rachel said, we have different hats. If you're an international student, if you're learning English as a second language, you can't get sorted out to transitional studies. So we take them in and do our test placement. But for native speakers, let's say who graduate from high school and they have I think it's 2.5 GPA in English classes, then they are automatically, are eligible for English 101 classes. And on the placement test itself, there are a bunch of questions regarding their reading skills and writing skills. We have both an essay and writing prompt for students to go through. So it's really, an honor system. We want them to be honest with their own skills, and then they can place themselves into the right place. We do ask for a writing sample from all students. We only look at those if students have questions. Let's say you are recommended at the English 98 level, but you think you are maybe eligible for 101. If you want to speak to someone, then they have that option. Or if a student is placed into 101, but we have the option of a 2 extra credit 101 support class or 5 credit extra, 101 support class. And as a student, I'll be like, what does that mean? What does that look like? So they have this push button saying, I need support, I need to talk to anyone. We're still working on that. We've been making a lot of progress, and we're ready to test it out for spring quarter, Rachel, to see how that goes. We're trying to pilot it with a certain group of students to see how that goes.
Forgive me for just clarifying. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jessica.
Maybe we have the same question. So, because we're also, as part of this like guided pathways grant that we're working on, a third of that is placement, and we call it directed self-placement, but it's the same thing. So to clarify, you are allowing your international and your resident ESL students to place themselves with a writing sample, or that's just the English native speakers? Because we've met some resistance from faculty.
We thought about that. We go back and forth. We want to give everybody the same opportunity to do that. But in the meanwhile, as international students, well, I think when they first come in, they don't know the college. They don't know how things go. So we think it's equitable to actually provide the support to them from transitional studies. So we have that option. I'm an international student, then they are actually channeled into transitional studies. So they don't go through that self-placement just because they don't know enough about college, how the system works. And the same thing for ELA students, their language skills are not there yet. So actually going through the process is going to be confusing and it's not equitable. So we sort them out and then we work with them one-on-one.
That's helpful. Thank you. We're developing it so that it's a data point so that students do, like they just like what you have, I feel comfortable with this. I feel comfortable with this. I can read this in this time. And then they say, I think I should be at this level, but they still have to placement test no matter what part of the house they're from. And it's a data point for the instructor to see like the student thinks that they could do this, but we feel this way. That's kind of where we're at right now, where we're trying to have the best of both worlds.
I think we talk about that. We kind of felt it's a lot of labor hours if we read every single writing assignment turned in. So we do ask for a writing sample, but we don't manually read them until it's necessary for us to meet with the students one-on-one when they have questions. then we have, better knowledge to advise them. But if in general they feel like, I can do this, I've done this before, then go for it. I think one of the ideas behind this is if students can finish their pre-level college courses and get into college level classes within the first year, then they're more likely to stay and succeed to finish. So yeah, but we're still testing it. We don't know how this is going to turn out.
Okay, does anybody have anything they want to add to that discussion?
This is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but I am curious for Leah and Rachel, you alternate I don't know if you're calling them electives or the 5 credit classes. One quarter is speaking, listening, the other quarter is reading. If a student doesn't pass the class, then they would have to wait for the quarter after the next to take it again? Or, I mean, I'm just thinking about the obstacle of progression.
That really is getting into the weeds because our classes, I guess what we have done is we have made reading and writing prereqs to the next level. So a student must pass reading and writing to move up to the next level. If they don't pass listening and speaking, or they don't pass grammar, then it's sort of instructor permission. But the reading and writing classes are the only prereqs on the SIFs. So we don't want to make them wait a whole nother quarter if they didn't pass listening and speaking. But if they didn't pass the writing class or the reading class, that's pretty basic, and they need to repeat that.
That we are in the weeds. Like, we've done the easy part, which has been very hard actually, but we've just started wrestling with the progression, and yeah, we actually didn't think about that. So we just worked out in a meeting last week. We agreed on like a 2.5 for all populations to pass, like a 2.5 grade average. So if they're just in the 10 credits and they pass that core class, integrated class, then the student can progress to the next level. If they're involved or enrolled in any additional skills classes, whether they're ESL or international, domestic or international, then they'd still need the GPA of 2.5 to go to the next level. So if that's what we're saying, then they wouldn't necessarily need to repeat that course, I don't think, to go up, but that could be a hole where maybe their skills in reading or speaking and listening are not, what we're expecting when they get into the next level. So yeah, there's a gap there. So because they're taking writing and grammar, a writing grammar skills course every quarter, I guess we've prioritized that, like Rachel was saying, reading and writing. So that would be one, since they're enrolling in that every quarter, that there wouldn't be a skill gap there, but potentially skill gap for reading, speaking, listening.
I'm wondering if I can, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to add one more thing I thought of. We are developing, we are not very far in the process, but we want to have some kind of artifact at the conclusion of each level that students must, whatever population they're in, that they can produce to demonstrate their ability to move to the next level. So something spoken, like some form of presentation, something written. So we are going to develop something that students need to produce to demonstrate they're ready to complete that level and go to the next one, so that we'll have something consistent across whether a student's in 10 credits or 15 or 20, that when they get to the next level, that there's an understanding of some shared ability before they move on to the next level.
I was wondering if I could ask a somewhat related pathways question. And particularly for Daryl and Ivan at Bellevue, because my dean asked me if I could ask programs that look like they only have 5 levels from, ESL to college. If your program was previously longer and if you consolidated, or, maybe it's always been 5 levels, but if you did consolidate, how did you do that? We're looking to streamline our programs a little bit.
So I can answer that. So our program's always been 5 levels plus bridge. Recently, we've tried combining levels just due to low enrollment. We actually didn't do that this quarter, but we did it a bunch in fall. We had enough students in each level in winter to give one section of each level, minus level 1. We're not offering a level 1 right now. But if we had any, we didn't really have any true level 1s, and we had some students that could have gone into level 2. So right now we're offering levels 2 through 5 plus bridge. It's always been that way. Well, levels 1 through 5 plus bridge. Our IEP has been around for like 35 plus years. It started out in continuing education and then became integrated with the college. And it was based, I think it was modeled off of other IEPs in the area at that time. I heard it was modeled off of the Edmonds model. But yeah, 5 levels, and we're flexible and open to anything at this point. So who knows what's going to happen? But we also may need to seriously consider combining into the domestic program or combining levels, making that more of a regular practice. It's hard. I taught a combined level class last quarter, and it's less than ideal. And especially when our students are paying so much money to come here and they're really not getting served. I think they're not really getting their money's worth when they're in a class with other students that are either way below or way above them. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And of course, we also have 5 levels, so there could have definitely been some historical overlap.
I think there was. I've heard this before. Like Edmonds and Bellevue kind of got started around the same time. There were some original founders. Like, who were those? There's some people in Edmonds.
So like Jan Peterson,
yes,
Kathy Costa, Kelly,
yes,
Russell,
all
Peter
those.
Martin.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No, they've all just retired fairly recently. I mean, Kelly just at the end of summer, but yeah. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, it's 10:40. I had said we would take a quick break at 10:30 to 10:45, but let's just take a 10:40 to 10:45 break, grab some more coffee, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do, and then let's come back at 10:45 and think about where we might want to pick up. I think we're sort of, as usual, it's not just one pointed discussion. We're sort of weaving in and out of all of the topics of discussion, which I love. So, but just kind of think about a little bit about any priorities that you might have that you want questions answered or whatever it is. Okay, so we'll see you in 5 minutes. I can also, I think I'm recording this meeting. It appears that I am. So I can also post this on our Canvas site so people can access it later if they weren't able to make it, or for people who had to leave early or who came late.
Rachel, that would be great, just because I got to take off here pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can just pick up where you left off.
Yeah,
Put it on double time, Ivan.
that's right.
Put on
Everyone
1.5
sounds like Mickey
and just power
Mouse.
through it.
Where will it be posted?
I can put it on. I guess I can put it on Canvas. I can put it. I don't know. I have to figure that out. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I'll either put it in a discussion or I can put it in an announcement.
Okay.
Or I can put it on the meeting. I don't know. I'll find a place for it.
Thanks. That's
That'll work.
helpful.
Okay, so I guess we are doing a pretty good job making it through our quote agenda, unquote. Is there any direction that anybody really wants to go now? Any burning questions that you feel that you want answered that you haven't heard yet? Any burning topics of discussion for you? Should we move on to placement? A little bit more talk about placement, or did you get enough of that? Enough placement? Okay.
Can I ask one placement question before we move on? We are wondering, because we can no longer offer, we've been told that we can no longer offer levels 1 and 2 in our IEP, not even cross-listed with our domestic program. So and then it brought up the problem of, well, how do you make sure that students that you're accepting aren't in level 1 or 2 because they don't take our placement test until they arrive? At any rate, we're wondering if anyone is using ITEP as a placement, and if they are, what their cutoff scores are. We're going to pilot it next quarter with the idea that a 2.0 ITEP could be a cutoff for saying, okay, you could probably handle level 3 in our program or higher.
I've never heard of ITEP, but I do know that we have a laundry list of acronymed placement tests that we do use.
I'm fairly sure that Christine Knorr, when she was at CityU, I think they were using ITEP, but she's not here today. I think she's in Mexico, so, although she could be here.
Great choice. But you know what? I know Christine, so that's perfect. I can reach out to her. Thanks.
Do other colleges take standardized test scores and have them leveled to specific classes at your college?
We do it to bridge. We don't have them leveled by level, if that makes sense, but we have bridge cutoff scores, and then we have exempt cutoff scores. So if they have this, then they're guaranteed placement in the bridge, but then we have 3 levels, then the instructors decide where they go in there.
At LW Tech, we're using, as of right now, we're using online Michigan test. And it breaks down the score for A1, A2, B1, B2, C1.
Do the students pay for that Michigan test, that online Michigan test?
It's very inexpensive. Our international program pays for that. It's like a few dollars per test. And I administer it. I have been doing it in the online environment, and it's been manageable because we're not accepting a lot of new students, but it takes at least an hour, and plus we do a write-in sample. So I also look at the write-in sample. So in total, it's like an hour and a half per student. I haven't tried to do it as a group, which might be possible if you have another person helping you. It's like a few faculty members test in a group at the same time. So it's possible to do that, but it's very inexpensive and it's been working very well for us.
Karina, does it have a speaking and listening component?
It has a listening component, really good one. Speaking, informally, it's like an interview when students come in. I ask them to introduce themselves and ask them like where they're from and what they're planning on studying here and things like that.
Our program has been using the Versant English placement test for probably 5 years or so. And so there's a web version. So we've been using that for the last year. And I don't know, it's working, but it's not easy. Like we meet with the student on Zoom and just, we have like a different tech problem every time. So I've come to know the support person by first name, you know. So we just anticipate, and we're trying to set up as much as we can prior to the actual testing time of any kind of technical stuff so that the student can just get to the test and not be exhausted from negotiating tech trouble for an hour before they start the test. And we have like still 100 tests that we purchased when we had higher enrollment. So when we merge our programs, we are probably just going to continue using that placement for our international students since we've already purchased those tests. But at some point, I don't know, I'm curious about using CASAS for your international students. And like someone said that they do that.
We do that.
You do.
And is there any problem with, I don't know, the funding of that?
We just calculate how many tests we used and we pay out of international budget. Those are also very inexpensive. They're a few dollars per test.
So our international students take the same AccuPlacer test that domestic students take. And what we have is a reading cutoff that was established by, in fact, our English program, we're in the middle of this whole placement. They're doing an overhaul placement. But up to now, they have really placed students based on a reading cutoff instead of a writing cutoff, which is so interesting. And that was a decision that was made by them. So what we did was we took that reading cutoff for international students. If they don't make it into English 101, if they're not able to go into English 101 based on that cutoff, it bumps them to the AccuPlacer LOEP so that they take the ESL AccuPlacer basically, and then we have our own leveled scores for that, and that would place them into different classes that we offer for international students. Our domestic students take an in-house writing test. They don't have any, they have, we're not doing CASAS, but we've kind of gone back to paper and pencil basically since COVID.
In Seattle colleges, we do accept certain scores from TOEFL and IELTS for placement into our bridge levels. At South, it's 4 and 5. But then we retest them. And if they test around that, then they can get their higher of the 2 scores. If they're 2 levels below on our own in-house test, then that's where they go.
Yeah, I just chat that we, if students have scores that are accepted by international programs that they've agreed with the college to accept, they can place right into whatever classes they place into, and they can bypass the AccuPlacer altogether. And we do not retest them. We just take the scores and they can go wherever they want. And it was sort of more anecdotal than a data study, but I did go back through and look at all of our students that have placed on different tests. I did this about a year ago, and students actually just do fine. It almost doesn't matter how they come into the program. They somehow get placed well enough, and the vast majority do just fine once they get to English 101.
Are any of the colleges using Duolingo English test?
So we were not consulted, but we were told that there is now a Duolingo placement test cutoff score that the college will accept. And there's the caveat that it's maybe a temporary measure. But yes, we are using it. I'm not sure what it is, but I could look it up if you're interested.
Well, the University of Washington is accepting 105 for admission purposes and 120 to exempt from the language proficiency requirement. So we have essentially said 105 is a 76, and I guess 120 would be a 92.
I think we copied a UL because we were asked to do this too when COVID happened and it was and everything else was shutting down, and now we allow it for students to get visas, which is a little bit moot right now, but they still have to take our placement. But I think we still do have 120 as an exempt. Then they don't have to come into the ESL program, but we didn't want to allow it for actual placement. It's not a great test.
In hindsight, using it is probably okay. Now that they have subscores, it's amazing how low the productive subscores are for a lot of students. Generally, that's something I've noticed. And I think someone asked earlier, I stepped away for a second. We at the higher end do use TOEFL, IELTS, and now Duolingo subscores for placement into the AAP courses. And so that a student, if they don't want to take the placement test, they don't have to. But that's, again, we're talking, 76 to 80. Oh, no, subscores. So it's 20, 23, 22, 23. They will be in one course if they're above 23 on reading and writing, average combined. It's kind of complicated, but we do use them.
So it sounds, as always, everybody does something different, and every campus has different tests that they accept and different ways that people can come in the door and get sorted into their different classes. I think a long time ago, we had a thread about what tests people were accepting and what scores we had. And maybe we could revive that. We could start a new thread and people could just sort of throw up a little table of what, maybe a little Excel, I don't know, throw up what you take and what your scores are. And I don't know if there may be some interest in that. I can create a thread for that.
Rachel, I think it's, if you go on everybody's website, you can kind of see what the scores are. And I mean, we had this conversation, I guess it was a little over a year ago. It was a big deal, direct placement into English 101 with, with certain scores. And I think we ended up, just because we were all basically forced to do it in order to keep students coming. Mm-hmm. But our experience, I mean, we tried to be conservative, not too low. And I've been tracking it, and truthfully, the students who've been placed directly into 101 do okay. Yeah. But I think part of it has to do with 101 is changing, and I'm kind of curious about that with with guided pathways, with the focus on equity. What I'm seeing at our institution is that kind of the feeling that there've been too many I don't know, hurdles for students to get to 101 when they, without scores. So, and that, you may be in DevEd, you might be in ELL, you might be in ESLA, but you end up in there and then you trudge when maybe you could do okay in English 101. So I don't know if institutions are, I mean, we're getting ready to have a big conversation about that and see where, how there could be less, less burden, on students to get there. And I think we gate kept really, kind of without, but I'm worried about that point where a student shouldn't be, getting into what, at what point, what's the point that, this student would be really successful, but this student, really doesn't have the language. So I don't know. I'm seeing that that's in flux, I guess, for us. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, total sense. I think that's kind of the same direction where that's why we're expanding our support options for English 101. Not just automatically placing students into developmental English, but letting them reach a little bit and go into English 101 with different levels of support. And I think that's sort of the paradigm now in English education, is trying to get students into English 101 as quickly as possible so that they don't, students don't tend to persist if they're in developmental classes for too long. So we're trying to get them up and get them out of there if we can. Robin, Robin asked a question about the self-placement that you guys do.
Yeah, basically it's something that Ivan created, and he could speak more to it, but basically it's the questionnaire is like, I think if not mistaken, it's like asking questions. Are you able to do this? Are you comfortable writing a complete sentence or using a full paragraph to express yourself? Something along those lines to kind of let students self-place in a sense according to that. And it's basically has worked, for the time being. It's certainly not ideal, but but in the absence of not being able to have any other way of doing it at the moment, it has worked for us.
Daryl, I have a would you folks be willing to share what you've put together? I know it's specific to your levels and everything, but
Right.
it'd just be interesting to see that model. I think that the push is moving towards, like directed self-placement or informed self-placement is the student having more agency. And I think, Lija, you mentioned the concern is that when students are international students and they've never been in the United States or been in our system, how do they do that? So I think we're kind of navigating in those waters now. And I think to some extent, maybe they can, but, when Ivan mentioned doing this, we were all kind of blown away, but it sounds like it is working. And I remember he said, it's really important to have a very, very clear description, and that generally students were pretty honest about that. So if that's something that could be shared, I guess we could ask Ivan on Canvas. I wanted to ask him that before I left, but it'd be interesting just to see it, and kind of imagine it.
Yeah, that's right, Robin. It does depend on students being transparent and honest about their own abilities. And tendency, at least in the past, the students always have this super inflated idea about their linguistic abilities, mostly for the reasons because they want to bypass or get through the language part, of their studies as soon as it's possible. So yeah.
I have a question. Earlier when we were discussing this, I heard the phrase native speaker, and those who graduated high school used a few times. At the colleges, I mean, if a student is an F1 student who has an I-20, that's pretty easy to determine. But how is it decided who is subject to language support or ESL courses for those who graduate from high school and domestically? What is looked at to make that determination?
I think student decides. I mean, I think at least I think that's the direction that we've gone at Whatcom. It's not, they've gotten away from, we are going to tell you where you need to go. You're going to go through this process to kind of decide where you think you'll be successful. You can talk to somebody and then you place yourself someplace. And I think iBest was mentioned. I think there's a way for people to be in a class, and if they're not meeting the outcomes, they can still get credit for something like English 985 or something like that, so that they don't just bomb out. Part of me likes it because instead of the top down, you belong here, the student is driving that. And if the student doesn't place themselves properly, you haven't kept them back, as long as they feel like they have enough information and guidance to do it and support. But I don't know, that's what I think they're doing at Whatcom with residents. I don't know what other folks have.
If students have a high school diploma, even if they're immigrant students, if they have a high school diploma from Washington State and they graduated with the 2.5 or 2.0, I'm not sure, 2.5. If they graduated with from high school with a 2.5 or above and they met their senior English requirement, then they automatically can go into English 101. So, but they still come to campus and take an AccuPlacer test. And that AccuPlacer test will say, still, you've tested into English 101, or you might want to talk to transitional studies. And then at that point, like Robin's saying, it's a choice for the student. They can decide whether they want to push and take that 101 placement, or they feel like they might need some help, they might get into a support class, or if they just think, no, I really, they just graduated me and I don't know English well enough, I'd like to take 98. It is sort of a self-placement at that point in conversation with their advisor.
Thanks, Rachel. But to clarify, all students take the AccuPlacer, or is that correct?
No, not all students, because our international students are allowed to bypass that AccuPlacer if they have test scores that qualify them. Some of our domestic students are allowed to bypass it if they just decide to take the test scores from placement from their transcript. If they have credit coming from another college, they can, if they have English 101 credit from another college, they can use that. So no, not everybody. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with our rollout in the spring of directed self-placement, because I think that we'll have even less testing going on at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We've had students who, well, quite a few have gone to high school in the U.S. But yeah, I think I think to answer your question from our perspective, and I'm not really sure about this, but I believe within the process of applying through international education, there's something that will either trigger them to either be tested through our testing center, and that would be AccuPlacer, or yeah, and because I find that it was interesting. You would think that they would be more prepared for college academically, but interestingly enough, I mean, when I was teaching, I had some of those students in my class. I mean, yeah, of course they were conversationally fluent, but I think a lot of the academic skills were just not there. So it was, yeah, interesting to find that, and then it so makes me think. I think Rachel's point must be similar to ours. Is, I mean, without knowing for sure, that must be what happens. Yeah.
So I have not been teaching our ABE high school completion students, so I'm not really well versed in this, but my understanding is most of the students that come in, they're there because they did not successfully get a high school diploma. And so they're coming to Cascadia saying, I want to get my high school diploma through the college. Or they aren't, they don't want to be in high school anymore, and they want to get their high school diploma in a different way, an alternative way. So it's like a self-placement, right? Where they come to the college saying, I want my high school diploma. And so that's the program we have where they can do high school completion. So it's really, is that what you're asking, James?
I think I don't want to get us off. This is kind of a sidetrack that probably most of you know, and it's not that important. But the University of Washington for this incoming year is no longer requiring ACT or SAT scores for applicants. And so, the question is, because we would use those verbal scores to exempt, the vast majority of applicants from the language proficiency requirement. At the same time, back in fall, the university closed down the testing center entirely for good. So we were kind of scrambling. What are we going? We can't test that many students all at once. My guess is that very soon they will just anybody who's coming from a community college will no longer be subject to the language proficiency requirement, and probably those who've graduated from high school. Maybe 2 years or 3 years, they might. I think the California system is typically, if you've been in high school for 3 years, you're exempt. But that's why I was asking. So I have enough. Thank you all.
Okay, so should we move on to a new topic? Let's see, what else do we have on our list? So let's see, I think we've kind of covered equivalent tests, guided self-placement. There was a question about course surveys for ELLs, and then the last part of this would be, maybe we can just talk about what different campuses are doing for online. How's everyone handling that? How's it going? It was challenges, opportunities, successes. So I think those are, that's a great place for us to sort of go into. We have about 50 minutes left here. Are we stopping at 12 or 12:30? 12. Okay, so we've got about 50 minutes left. Thanks, Simone. That was a very nice, clear enunciation. I couldn't hear you, but I could see it. I tell my students all the time, I'm always going, move your mouths, because my students are just going, okay, so yeah, so let's go ahead. I don't know who wants to share about, I think probably the evaluation will be a quick one, and then we can move on to the online stuff and keep on trucking. So anybody who asked that question?
That was mine, Rachel. Thank you. At TCC, we're looking, and this is campus-wide, not just ELL, but campus-wide end of course surveys. And I'm on a task force that's looking at it. And I just wanted to know how every college is handling it with either EAP students, international students, or your domestic immigrant refugee population. How do they have a separate form? Are they allowed to translate when they do an end of course survey? Just a quick question about that.
My quick question was, does everyone use IDEA forms? Can we have a show of hands? Does anyone use IDEA? Li Jiao. Okay, well, so I guess that's a good question, because we have a very standardized course eval. We couldn't even manipulate it, I don't think, to allow native language or simplified language. So in our ELA classes, we use something that we call Smiley Face. It's an in-house. Anyone above ELA uses what's called the IDEA form, and it's online, electronic. And we have had basically across campus zero participation since we've gone to online. So nobody's really getting course evaluations. A lot of people don't care, but like, for example, Li Jiao, who's a probationer, she's on tenure track. She needs those evaluations for her, for her committee stuff. And that's a problem, but it is what it is. We can't worry about it. So yeah. I think Daryl, you raised your hand there.
Yeah, so we have a standardized form, institutional one, a union negotiated form that all classes use. And so the language is always questionable in terms of how the students understand it. So we've approached it in several ways. One way that has been done, we've had some faculty members kind of rewrite it, and like maybe a day before or sometime before, they would kind of go over the vocabulary with the students and let them do, well, not while they're in the room or anything, but at least let them know that when the evaluation opens up on Canvas, these are the questions, and this is what they're asking. So I think that's typically how it's done, but we don't really have the flexibility to, in a formal sense, to do any other evaluations. There are some instructors that do their own in-house kind of evaluations, but we have to use that. And because it's used for so many reasons, for when instructors want to apply for a promotion or whatever the case may be, that data is used for that purpose. So we have to use that form.
We also have, they're college mandated, but we have ESL specific forms that the college has approved, and it's just integrated into Canvas. And the teachers have created videos to kind of similar, like they show the form, they talk about what each thing means, this means smiley face, and the students watch the video before they do the evaluation. It's not perfect, but.
I think since COVID, oh, Karina, you have your hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have a separate evaluation forms, like Jessica mentioned, that's approved for the ESL classes and international classes as well. But we actually have two versions of that form. We have one for lower levels and one for higher levels. So lower levels is 1, 2, 3. And then the above level, there is a different form that's a little bit more complicated.
Thank you.
In Seattle colleges, I think people have the option to opt out of the standardized test, maybe, or standardized evaluation. Maybe Duff knows more about that than I do. All I know is that we've never used it at South Seattle College in IEP. And we had a standardized one for IEP when we were face-to-face. And then when we went to remote, then I personally, when I was associate dean, I went to each Zoom room and administered it. And then when I went back to faculty, it sort of just became independently administered by the faculty themselves. And then the faculty need to only submit the results once a year. Maybe Duff knows more on that than I do. So it's really kind of just for their own use most of the time.
All of our faculty in the Seattle Colleges district, they've already attained their priority hire part-time status or their full-time tenure equivalent status. So they're not turning in evaluations to the unit administrator every quarter. It is once a quarter, once an academic year for full-timers. At Seattle Central, we've developed an in-house Canvas-based assessment that has really kind of simplified language. Teachers develop this, and it really gets at the things that we feel are useful for our teachers and our courses. And that's something that's usually administered towards the end of the quarter on Canvas. It's often done as an anonymous, small credit homework assignment or a quiz. And Canvas does not record any student identifying information. And it does run basic analytics so we can see kind of the course responses for a given course, given instructor. There are a few open-ended questions, so students can always write comments, but you usually get the usual, no problem, it's great, I love this teacher, less homework please. So that's about it. And the college here at Seattle Central we are opted out of the campus-wide assessment process, although there have been hang-ups where they actually notified our students that they have to take the college one as well, and we have to kind of go back and say, no, disregard that one, do the Canvas one in our classes. So it's kind of a mess sometimes.
Yeah, and we have been at North doing the college one. You can go in and modify it. But yeah, it can get a little bit messy. So
So at Cascadia, I think by union contract, it varies on your status, but it's like once per year or something. Faculty are required to, like 1 quarter per year to do it. However, it's really like our college culture to do this every quarter, and it's kind of an expectation, so it's kind of just our practice. And through the administrative office, through the dean's office, there's someone there who has these forms that are going out college-wide to all the faculty or to all the students. That goes directly to the students, bypassing faculty. So the students click on the link, and I think they might use Qualtrics. I'm not sure. So there's a standard college-wide form. For our English learners, we have adapted evaluations that we used to use on paper form pre-pandemic. And so this staff person has adapted those or converted those to Qualtrics. And then the links are emailed to our students. We're also asked to post the link to our course evaluation in our Canvas course and remind the students to do those. So like I included in my English course as an item in the module to do this week, click on this link and fill out this form. So that's how we're doing that. And then, there's a limit to what productive stuff you can get back as an instructor from those. So then most of us are also doing like midterm course surveys and end of quarter surveys that we're also just doing for our own learning and more immediate response.
That's great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, did you have any other questions about that, Emily, or need any other info? Okay. Okay, so let's move on to how's it going being online, y'all? Let's see, we went online last winter at the end of winter quarter. So we've been online half of winter, all of spring, summer, fall, now winter again. We are also online for spring already. How many are online for spring? Everyone, okay. Leah, no? Oh yes, Leah, okay. So we're also online for spring, probably summer.
We're online for spring, except now we're actually considering if we have students who will come, we will go hybrid. We did that this quarter, but then only one student was actually showing up. And so we stopped doing that. And then now we're learning, we have some students who are determined to study abroad and they're looking for in-person classes. And we only have a handful of students, and we're learning now that they might not return next quarter because they want to come to the United States. They want to be in person. They're looking for schools that will offer that. They're looking at schools in Canada. So we're in a process of finding out individually, talking to each student, what would bring you or keep you at Cascadia. If it's an in-person class, we are willing to do that this quarter, and we did do it, a hybrid on campus online version. So now we don't know what we'll do next quarter.
That reminds me that we did kind of gloss over the idea of how our campus is handling the requirement that international students now have a face-to-face class. And I can just offer that at EVCC, we are offering our College 101 class, which is a 2-credit survey of how to be a college student. We're offering that for international students as a hybrid. So it's only 2 credits, but if they are here in the States and they need to take they have to take that hybrid class, that's the one we're offering. And it's one of the, there might be 10 classes on campus that are meeting face-to-face, either for a lab or because of that. I actually am going to be teaching a series of 1-credit face-to-face computer tech classes for our ESL students because it's really difficult to get them online, even with the Chromebooks that we give them. So I'll be teaching a face-to-face 1-credit class like that, but we're basically online, and that's just it.
Oh, sorry, Robin, you go ahead.
She says, you go, Emily.
Oh, thank you. At TCC, we are all online. We're going to be online for summer, and we just made a call as a department to be online for fall. We get around the visa requirement by offering either studio art classes where students are going in and maybe they take ceramics and they're firing their pots on campus. We also have a class called Write 96, and it's a 1-credit one-on-one tutoring class. It's usually a writing support class. And we are offering that as hybrid starting in spring for students that need hybrid. And full disclosure, they're only meeting face-to-face once for the orientation. And so that takes care of the requirement right there. So they'll do an orientation, and tutoring can be done easily online. It's just getting the students there. And so we figure this orientation, kind of walks them through it in person and then introduces them to their tutor, and then that's all set up, and then they can access it online. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I was just gonna jump in, comment on what you said, Leah, about what do students want, and we had a couple of our Japanese students who were planning to come, but when push came to shove, the realization that the hybrid would, as several of you mentioned, just be a couple of times meeting somebody, that they'd be online the whole time in our beautiful new residence hall with 40 people rambling around in it. They chose not to come, and we also feel like that makes sense, especially those students, they want a cultural experience. So I think it's just, people want to come, but the hybrid thing is just unless they're really focused on getting their AA and transferring, there's not, I don't think there's much of a draw. So, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully, so you said you're going to be online for fall. Is that what you said, Emily? Your
Yeah, the
institution?
campus is deciding now, but as a department with my ASL co-chair, we just decided that we want to keep online just for safety of instructors and students, and then address it. We can always
go back,
throw
go
a
the other
couple of
way.
classes as hybrid, but right now our mindset is that we're not going to get there with having, you know, inoculations for everybody ready to go by fall. So right now we're just thinking we'll do it one more quarter and see how it goes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Daryl, you had your hand up for a little bit there.
Yeah, Bellevue College. Yeah, we are officially online, but we do have a hybrid program within our division just for our international students. And one thing we do, because most of our students are still online, and for students who do come, we like cross list the same course as a hybrid / online, so they could actually be having the same teacher but getting the same instruction. And so for the hybrid students, they come to campus like once at the very beginning, maybe for assessment or just a regular class, and then they'll have a. And they, I think just recently they did the midterms. They just come to class and they just sit and just work throughout the day, and that's it. So it's just like only twice they're on campus.
Okay, so everybody's just sort of fumbling through that and making it work. Okay, let us hear about any amazing technology successes you've had, anything earth-shattering or down in flames stuff or opportunities that you had. I wanted to start with one opportunity that I think we have that is really interesting. I have a student in my ELA 1. I had her in fall quarter, and because of all of the flooding and issues that they have in Honduras, she had to vanish from the class, and she's again in Honduras still, and she's still taking my class. So she is a visa resident student, but she is in Honduras trying to take care of paperwork for her son. And I actually think that's an opportunity. I think that, we almost could expand our classes to Honduras or El Salvador or Africa, or wherever we want, any part of Africa, Asia, Latin America, it doesn't matter. I think it's kind of interesting. I kind of like it.
So are you saying then that in the future you envision a class where there's a part of the students are in the classroom and others are doing it online, and the teachers manipulating both of those at one time? No, okay.
No, I know people are doing that, but no, it would be, I think one of the other part of this opportunity, James, that now that you bring it up is, I don't think we'll ever go back to having no online ELA classes. I think we will continue to always offer online ELA. It's not ideal, but for students who can't figure it out any other way, it's a great opportunity for them. So no, I don't think we'd have classes where teachers are doing both at once, but we would continue to have online classes and have face-to-face classes.
Yeah, I think that's also our plan. Like for the EIP, the IEP program, we're so small that we won't be able to offer both in fall. So the hope is that we can have a hybrid, but it will depend, on safety issues. But our domestic program is definitely looking at offering some fully online courses and then some hybrid or in-person classes so that you don't have to have an instructor trying to juggle both. But yeah, I think that there are students who really love the flexibility of being able to do it online. And I think, I think it's an amazing opportunity in some ways, because we wouldn't have done this shift. But for us, we only have 20 students this quarter enrolled in the whole program. But I think about 3/4 of them are living at home in their home countries. And, without being able to offer them online classes, we would just have a few students who are hanging out in Linwood. So it's been really positive. Yeah.
I just noticed it's kind of interesting listening to the larger group plan classes for Whatcom online, and a bunch of teachers wanted to do synchronous classes because they think that'll be way better. But the truth is, students sign up for the asynchronous online classes because when push comes to shove, they want the flexibility. And I think I agree with what you're saying, Rachel. I have a student who's in Benin and she's able to take the class. She wouldn't be here, she wouldn't be doing this if she didn't have this opportunity. So there's definitely an opportunity. Whether how to kind of get at it is a question. I know I tried to do a synchronous class for and offer it, and it just didn't work because people were in different places. And so right now we're still with asynchronous, but I will say one faculty member, they're very committed to having some times to meet the students and trying to bring the students together. And without that, it's pretty darn dry, somebody said something about Loom. They're using Loom. Leah, you said that, but what is Loom?
Well, it's really something I think very useful and easy for faculty to use. So it's like a little presentation tool where you make a video recording and you can put yourself in a little, like you show up as a little circle or bubble in the lower corner of the screen. So there's a nice personal interaction where the student can see you talking, but you're small, and then you can navigate around websites, and show students how to do stuff. And so it's good for like just a short little instruction or just greeting students, but it's just so easy for instructors to use. So even like the least techie of us, like one of the guys, he was so excited, he did the workshop, and then, he emailed me early the next morning, like, I've already made 5 looms. So it's been a fun little technology for just a quick face interaction with the students. So check it out. One problem with it for demonstrating it is it doesn't play nicely with Zoom. So you can't show people very well using Zoom how to use Loom. But it is just something that we're excited about this week, and they're popping up all over the place. So, and I need to go to.
Is it free? Just curious. Is
it
free?
It is free, and there's a free for educators. Let me grab a link and I'll share that with you.
Has anyone tried liveworksheets.com? Have you heard of that? So liveworksheets.com is it's a free service. I think the guy who created it is maybe in Spain or maybe somewhere in, I don't know, Czechoslovakia. I don't know where he's from, but it's this site that people use, and you can put up electronic worksheets. You can organize your students by class, and you can create your own worksheets, and you can add video, you can add audio. Do you want me to show you a couple real quick? I mean, it's pretty cool. And I think your instructors would really like it. Let me see if am I sharing my screen? I can't tell. I'm not on my, can't tell what I'm sharing or not sharing.
You're sharing.
Okay. Okay, so this is the site. It's called liveworksheets.com. And there are hundreds and hundreds of worksheets that people make and use, and some of them, so for example, I have so I'll just show you. I can organize by students. So these are my students for winter quarter, and I'll just open one of my students, and you can see that I have them organized into weeks. So within each week, I can either borrow people's worksheets that other people have made, or I can create my own worksheets. Up here, there's tutorials for how to do it, and I can create my own worksheets for students to do. And this is really great because I'm not in the classroom to give them paper or whatever. And this is my ELA 1 students have gone in there and figured out how to get themselves an account and how to go in and do the materials. It's fantastic. It's free. The only limit is that you can only have 10 workbooks per class. So I had to kind of put 2 weeks together, but it's a great site. I highly recommend it. Some of it's junk, just FYI, like anything else, like any other lessons you go and find on the internet. Some of it's crap and it doesn't, some of the English is not right. Some of it's not maybe appropriate for the exact thing that you're teaching, but it's awesome. And I'm trying to figure out how to unshare my live worksheets now.
I would be curious to hear a little bit more about the time zones. That was mentioned in the chat, how to teach across the time zones.
It's very tricky. I think one way that works is just try to, so what I do is I have like optional study meetings in the morning and then one more in the afternoon. And hopefully students can join whenever it works for them. It's optional because some students, when they see you have required Zoom meetings and they work or they take care of family, they can't do it, then they won't sign up for that class. So I get emails from students midnight, Saturday, Sunday. And if I'm awake, I will respond because I know if I wait till Monday, they're gonna freak out for 2 more days. And there's no point for that stress anymore. So I just respond real quick. Usually the best way I figure out is to get them on Zoom right away and talk for 5 minutes instead of emailing back and forth for 20 emails. Yeah, so it works.
Are your classes mostly synchronous or asynchronous when you teach them?
So as a division, Rachel and I work with our dean and chair to decide for lower level classes, they should be asynchronous because they need that one-on-one time. They need to see your face. They need to see how to do things. But for higher level students, we give them the option of synchronous and asynchronous. And I have to say, what I'm seeing in all of my ELA students, like immigrant students, they have been doing amazing work. So they have built up confidence. Whenever they come on Zoom, they're always there early with smiley faces. And I see for my higher level classes, it's a hidden, it's hard to say. Like last quarter, I offered optional study sessions per day. I would have 10 students with me on Zoom. I did the same thing this quarter. I only have 2 people. So it's just like, you don't know what they want because groups are so different and we just kind of have to do whatever works for them. Yeah.
Joyce, do you want to go?
Sure. So I typed it in the chat. Last quarter, I taught students in 4 different time zones. So starting from Bremerton, then I had a student in Georgia, and then I had a student in Nigeria, and then I had a student, well, more than one, in China, and then I had students in Japan. And so it works for me. Keep in mind that I'm talking about, 10 students, 7 students. So I did, and it is very important to them that we meet on Zoom. So last quarter, I tried it like 3 times a week. And so that magic hour was 2 p.m. for me. So then it was, afternoon, later in the evening for the girl in Georgia. It was like 11 p.m. for the kid in Nigeria. It was like 6 a.m. in China and 7 a.m. in Japan. And those students were there every time pretty much. This quarter, I'm meeting 5 days a week. And because I'm only working in the 2 time zones, we're pretty much on Zoom from, 3 to 5 every day. And then I have office hours in the daytime for the students in Bremerton. And I have office hours in the evening after classes for the students in Japan. And it was hard. Bananas. To coordinate all of that. I make myself available on Facebook. I set up a Facebook group every quarter. I'm available to them on Messenger. And so, it's sometimes just that check-in. Hey, let me know when we can meet. And again, if I'm just sitting here working or I'm watching TV at 10 o'clock at night, I respond. And I think that's what keeps them engaged is that access. Again, keep in mind, I have 7 students. That's the only way it works. 10 students, it worked. But if I had 25 students, I would be dead. So.
I have 25. but thankfully they're mostly all here. I have a few just in Japan, and there was one guy in Taiwan, but he actually managed to get here, so it's a little bit better.
At TCC, we're offering our bottom 4 levels of EAP are combined with AESL. And so we are offering morning Zoom, and we started this winter quarter, morning Zoom class or evening Zoom class. So they register for a class depending on which Zoom time works best for them. And it's been great for our students who aren't in the country, and it's been great for our AESL students that work all day, or maybe their kids are Zooming at home all day and the only free time they have is in the evening. And so we're going to keep offering that. And I think that's something we'll keep offering even after COVID is done.
Okay, anything else on opportunities, successes, challenges? Anybody else with their lower level ELA students? We've had to develop a 1 credit class. Yeah, you need an app WhatsApp is an app. WhatsApp is an app. We've had to develop this face-to-face computer class because it has been so extremely labor intensive for our ELA instructors to get students online. They don't have computers or hotspots sometimes. They have never used a computer. They don't speak English. In order for us to explain it to them, the helpline can't use them. So we've actually developed a 1 credit face-to-face tech class so that students can come in and get their Chromebooks from the college and then just get a quick tutorial on how to use your username and password, how to get into Canvas, how to get into Zoom, how to use student email. And if we can just get them to be able to do that, it will save our ELA instructors 20 hours a quarter. It's been, I mean, that's all off contract work. It's been painful.
So Edmonds did not do that with our ELA program. I mean, because the N10 program, we don't have any level 1s and 2s, but they weren't able to offer in person, and it's been really hard. I mean, it's easier now, but the first quarter, it was just an enormous labor of love from those instructors. I mean, luckily, I think the college had a really great system for giving out Chromebooks and hotspots, and they could just do kind of a drive-through and pick it up. But the instructors, they worked a lot with family members to do translation and they're also relying heavily on like synchronous Zoom classes, whereas at the upper levels, it's usually a blend of, synchronous, asynchronous, and there's no requirement to attend the Zoom because you just can't. Yeah, it's hard with people's lives and everyone's, different situations. And then of course the time zones makes it challenging too. But I think that's great. You have that at Everett for the lower levels. It must make a world of difference.
Well, it hasn't made a world of difference yet because we're just offering our first one this spring. We've been trying to get it approved since summer, and it had to go through our institutional emergency response team, and then the president didn't sign it for 2 months, and we are finally going to do it. But in the spring quarter, I know I shouldn't have. I really don't have very good personal boundaries, but I actually went to some students' houses and just masked up and went in and was like, all right, I'm going to sit you down right here and show you how to do this. They would not have been able to access the class otherwise. They just could not do it. And no amount of my, I speak Spanish fluently, no amount of me explaining over the phone. We would do things like start on text, move to FaceTime, coax them into Zoom. They're like trying to show me that, it took hours. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Simone. It was an incredible labor of love, and one that I don't regret, but one that is not sustainable either. So, if you can somehow talk your campus into a 1 credit kind of class, I'm happy to hand over what I've done.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks. I will let them know, because I know that the instructors would really love at least an initial chance to meet them and do exactly what you're talking about. I'm happy you get a move towards that.
At Lake Washington, we actually have been paying one of the instructors who is specifically working with the students one-on-one, the ones who cannot get on Zoom, the ones who cannot get into Canvas or have like any kind of tech support. And this person only works with the IEP and ESL students. So it's separate from our e-learning. And this person has office hours like twice a week, but he also works with students one-on-one, so they can call him on the phone, but it's all remote. So they cannot meet him physically because our campus doesn't allow that. But at least like the instructors can save a little bit of time that way in their precious Zoom meeting classes, and send the students to this other instructor who helps them one-on-one.
Well, I just want to say you guys are amazing. I mean, what people have been able to do and what people are doing is really, really impressive. And hopefully we won't have to be doing it too much longer. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have just a floofy question if we get to it. What do you think is the most appropriate name for our field now? Because we have English as a second language academic, totally problematic. It shouldn't say academic. It shouldn't say second. ELL is problematic. So I'm just curious what your thinking is on that, and if we have time, because I don't want to cut it. I don't know if we were done quite with this conversation, but.
Yeah, I think we're kind of winding up, and I think that's a good one. We have about 15 minutes left here, and we do want to get off of here by noon so everybody can go do their thing. So yeah, let's talk about that. That's a great question, Robin.
I really liked somebody from Cascadia in the beginning mentioned that they're calling their new program English Foundations. That sounds interesting. Not like it cannot be totally non-problematic, but it sounds promising.
We're going with Institute of English, which is very generic, but also doesn't have any negative connotations or too narrow of a connotation. So.
And no confusion with English, like the other English.
Yeah.
Our domestic program just renamed themselves. It was, I believe, in summer, but English language acquisition as opposed to ESL. And we are still ESL, but would like to rename ourselves.
We also are ELA, our formerly ESL classes. I mean, I think between us, we call them our ESL classes, but they're listed as ELA classes. And our IELP classes are still listed as intensive English and academic English.
Will you change those as well, or do you think?
We don't have any plans to change them anytime soon. No. One thing I will say that I'm hearing a lot of that we just don't have going on. I don't know where the EVCC is in a huge budget hole. I mean, I know every campus is, but one of our most recent president talked about a historical mismanagement of budget before she even came on. And we are, what, Alicia, 5 million or 8 million in the hole from historical mismanagement. We have I keep hearing people talking about release time that they're giving adjunct faculty, release time that full-time faculty is getting. We have none of that. We have zero release time. We ask for it over and over again. We are not afforded release time for anything. We have one department head for all of high school completion, transitional studies, ESL, and ESL and IELP have been wholly neglected because the person who's been our department chair for the last 3 years is a DevEd ABE person. So we're really struggling. Our program has just sort of been floundering, and yeah, we're full-time faculty, but we also have a full load and committee work and stuff. We can't also, be expected to run the department without release time. So I'm so fascinated how your colleges have sort of come in and provided funding to keep people employed. It's kind of, yeah, Simone, I know I know that's a little bit, you've had some furlough situations there, but I am hearing from a lot of campuses that people are getting, release time to do things to sort of make up for classroom time. So that's kind of, I guess, where's that money coming from?
A good question.
I think we're about to see that. I mean, I don't know, we just gotta, I think the budget conversations are about to happen. I mean, so far, Wacom has been pretty amazing, but we're just wondering like how long can this go? Because I think they used some money that they had in reserves and things like that, but no, I don't know. How about the other colleges? Are they facing the same thing as Everett, or are people pretty worried or optimistic?
We are really worried at Lake Washington. We had few layoffs in September, not for faculty, but we had like an advisor laid off that was working with international students, and now our dean is doing the advising. And then we had the admin also being laid off from the international programs, and now our ESL admin is doing like creating the courses and doing the admin work. So she got more stuff on her plate because of that.
Our international programs office is cut about 60% of its positions, and they're still probably not small enough. The drop in international student numbers has been much greater than they expected. So the cuts that have come so far might not be enough, and that's a sad thing. In our teaching arm, we've been kind of spared. I think the colleges have been amazingly willing to grant release time and other methods to keep people in jobs, but I think it's partly because we're in a blind spot for them right now. There's so many other bigger fish in the budget deficit, lake, that they're kind of, for some reason, they're sticking with us. They feel that we can come back, that we can survive. But I think the numbers, I'm looking at our numbers, and it's like, we can't do this next year. I mean, because we're not going to have this grace period anymore. So it's, I'm nervous.
And Simone, the 4 faculty that were furloughed from Edmonds were tenured faculty, is that right?
Yeah, and they actually weren't furloughed, they were laid off. So yeah, we had 5 full-time positions, and that was after, Kelly retired. So we actually had 6 positions. And yeah, and it was without warning, because we've been running a deficit for a few years. Like our numbers were really high. I want to say 2015, like at the end of the 2014, 2015 academic year, we had maybe close to 450 students in our IEP. Yeah. And then it's just been a decline since then. But so, we knew that there were some budget issues, but my colleagues had asked specifically because, depending where you are on that RIF list, right, from when you signed your contract, do we need to worry about layoffs? Is this part of the conversation about managing the budget? And we were told repeatedly, no, no one's talking about layoffs. And then we were all invited to individual meetings on the same day. And when you looked at who was in that meeting, you're like, oh, the head of HR and, various other people. And that's when they told everybody that they were laying them off at the end of last quarter. And unlike some other schools, there really was no effort to look at, okay, could we maybe offer, could you take a furlough for a quarter? Right. Or would you be willing? I mean, everybody was very willing and had been looking into teaching classes in other departments, depending on their skill set and experience. And there was almost like resistance to that, but at any rate, it was a shock, and it's been incredibly difficult. And I was actually teaching all of my classes in our ELA program because of the budget situation last quarter, and now I'm back. But yeah, so it's been really hard, and it really came as a shock, even though we knew that there were budget issues. But yeah.
I don't want to have us end on a down note. Sorry. But
who has
yeah.
the trip coming up? Who's just itching to travel and can't get out of here? Me.
Okay,
Oh,
now I will say, we were able, my husband and I were able to go to Hawaii. It is possible. And if you decide you wanna, you gotta test yourself 72 hours before, and then they test you again when you get there and everything. But there, it was lovely. I don't wanna, and it wasn't crowded. I mean, there were people, but it wasn't crowded. So if that can work for anybody, it was a great escape.
What island were you on?
Robin, can I
Oh.
ask you a question? When they tested you on arrival, did you have to wait to get the test? Like, did you have to self-quarantine in a hotel to get
No. So you have to take a certain test, not any, and it has to be within 72 hours of departure. So it's a little nerve-wracking because you have to be sure you can get your results before your flight, but you can't do it way in advance. When you arrive, they test you, but that's just it. They don't do anything else. And you have to fill out something and have one of those codes, and then you're just free to roam around. You do need your that thing that you filled, that code when you rent a car and other things. But it was very easy, and they were very organized. We went to the Big Island, and people were wearing masks. There were some people that were not being, tourists. It's a little confusing because it's such an outdoor culture. If I'm walking and there's no one near me, do I wear my mask anyway or not? But for the most part, it was, it was
How long did you get to stay?
8 days. And the flights, like we did some red eye coming back. I'm getting too old for red eyes, but we each had 3 seats to lay down, and the planes were not crowded. My husband used to take students to Hawaii, and he's like, we'll never see it like this again. This not crowded. Went up to Volcano, and if you've been to Hawaii, it's just, they're just so, there really is just a very nice atmosphere, and people were really organized. I didn't feel like it was dangerous or anything like that. So, we had miles and got to go for that reason. But yeah, it's like you can get, I don't know, it was so nice to get out of the gloom for just a little bit, not on the mental gloom too, that we're all experiencing.
Yeah.
But and we have a new administration, so that was good. I didn't read any news except I listened to to Biden's acceptance speech, and yeah, it was nice to hear people talking about, oh, look at the volcano, just talking about beautiful things, not unhappy things. But I just want to say you folks are really impressive. I'm not teaching, but when I hear what you're doing for the students and how you're navigating the teaching, it's just really impressive. And I think some good things will come out of it, and I think we'll also eventually be able to get back to our classrooms, and hopefully it won't be, I think I've heard some people say they're worried about getting teachers to go back. So, but I think people really want to be back. They want to come. They still want to come to our country, amazingly. So, yeah.
Just the other day during my tenure meeting, one of my colleagues, she was really expressing concern, because we have 18 credits at each level. I'm teaching 3 levels, all this. And I'm worried about you, Joyce. Are you, is it too much? Are you going to be okay? And I said, you know what? It's what's keeping me alive right now. So that's all there is to it. I'll do whatever it takes.
One thing we did not discuss was who would like to host our spring meeting. No one. Okay.
Rachel, is it very hard?
No.
I feel like a very low techie person, but it sounds like we don't have to provide food, You just ask people what they want to do. We just need to get a date, right? And you know, I'll do it. I can do it. I may just ask you what I need to do. And I'll also add those notes from the previous meeting. Scott, you said you were taking notes this meeting, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And I will say I did a lot of research because I had to look up everybody's title the last time because I really wanted to be able to share this out with my bosses, and it was hard. I mean, you know, hunting it all down. So I'm not even, when I put it in there, if people have some editing, let me know. But yeah, I'm happy to do the next one. And it would be so nice, you know, we can imagine that we're coming up to Skagit or up north to see the tulips. We'll just have to do something like that. But any thoughts on when is good?
I was going to say, just pick a Friday, you know, 6th or 7th week of the quarter.
Okay.
And just stick it up there. I think people just come if they can come and don't come if they don't come. I don't know that we can really build consensus around a date. So I would just pick one. And if you need any help with, do you know how to make a Zoom meeting?
I do.
Okay. Yes. There you go. That's all. That's it.
Okay. Well, that's very easy. I really appreciate seeing you all. So
I'm going to put the recording up.
It was nice.
Yeah. Really nice to see you all and nice to meet you for the first time.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for hosting, Rachel.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Hang in there, everybody. Keep up the good work.
You
will survive.